The money taken out of your paycheck is not saving up for when you retire. It's being taken out of your paycheck to pay for old people who are currently old and currently retired. So when you retire, you better goddamn hope there's a bunch of new, younger people working to support your ass when you retire. That's how the Social Security Ponzi scheme works. It's the exact opposite of putting retirement into your own hands. We thought Social Security was such a great idea because we didn't have to fucking think about retirement. We didn't have to think about retirement. Retirement didn't have to be in our hands. We just dumped it onto the younger people and had them pay for our old asses. And as a consequence, when you don't have to think about your own retirement, you don't have to think seriously about saving money. So you can just spend away, waste away on stupid, useless consumer trash you don't need, instead of saving up conservatively and intelligently. Retirement is pretty damn stupid. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a desire to sometimes just want to sit down and relax. I do that a lot of times. I just sit down and do nothing. There's nothing wrong with doing nothing. My problem with retirement is that it's this glorified pie in the sky that you are told is going to bring you happiness. Which, yeah, the idea of working a job you hate for 5 decades, retiring when you're 65, old, your mind is already starting to go bad, so you can just sit on a rocking chair for another 30 years watching TV. Wow, dude, retirement sounds just like a fun time. Or maybe retirement is a dumb fucking overglorified scam, and maybe to desire a retirement, to look forward to retirement, is actually an indicator that you hate your life right now. You hate your life right now, bro. And look, if a big part of your existence is looking forward to retiring in 4 or 5 decades, basically what that means is that you don't really enjoy your life right now. And I think for a long time, this was the mindless economic rat race mentality that people were in. It's almost like we were in an economic situation. We were in a social paradigm where doing shit you hate was such a norm that not only was it difficult to cultivate a life that we only do or mostly do only things that we enjoy, it became so difficult that people didn't even try to fix their lives, didn't even try to get a job doing something they love, didn't even try to cultivate lives that they love. Instead, they just said, fuck it, I'll just spend the next 4 decades miserable, 4 or 5 decades miserable, working a job I hate. And the thing I'm looking forward to is retirement. That became the pie in the sky. We said, I'll just work a job I hate for 4 decades, and retirement is going to be the thing that I love. Retirement is going to be the thing that the big pie in the sky that's finally going to, I can't wait to and then you retire, and what happens? Retirement finally comes, you quit your job, you come home, you sit down in your fucking house, your kids already left the nest, you're there. You might have a wife. You sit there in your fucking living room. And then 5 minutes later, you're going batshit fucking crazy. And why are you going batshit crazy? Because you realize that retirement, what was retirement? Retirement turned out to be just sitting in your living room doing nothing, desperately hoping for something to come along and give you a fucking purpose. Oh my God, bro. Guys, I mean, how many times do we gotta pull out the cliched statements? Life is not about the destination, it's about the journey. Okay? And I think that's where real discipline in life comes from. Real discipline, real strength, real success. We love that word, success. Real success is not in hoarding a bunch of cash so you can go buy consumer products that don't make you feel good. Success is not buying a gigantic mansion because you want to impress stupid fucking friends that don't care about you. Okay? A mansion where you eight fucking 80 rooms, not even if you have 5 rooms that you do not use every day, your house is too big for you. Period. It's too goddamn big. If you have a home and you have more than 2 rooms that you never use, that house is too goddamn big. So we have this retarded definition of success and a retarded definition of happiness. And notice that all this happiness that we think is happiness, it's all about the pie in the sky. It's always the thing that's just out of reach, but once you get it, it'll finally make you happy, right? We're always reaching. Maybe it'll make me happy. Finally, it'll make me. It's just hoping. We're just hoping and reaching that finally this thing right out of my reach. Finally, when I get it, I'm going to be happy. And it never brings you lasting happiness. What a sick realization. Look at all the people who win lotteries. You know, people never really had a lot of money. They win the lottery. They go crazy. They go on shopping sprees, spending sprees. A lot of times they end up like in a ditch. Just like their lives are wrecked. Because the lottery was supposed to bring you happiness, right? And so you start to spend and buy things. Oh, I bought a new house. I bought a couch. And then you get the big house and you're like, wait a minute, but I mean, this got boring like after a week. Well, this isn't really fun. So you go buy, I'm going to buy a helicopter, a jet plane. I'm going to go on 800 vacations. I'm going to go to Disney World. You lose your mind in the unending, incessant scramble for the next thing. Failing to realize that happiness is not something you reach towards. Happiness is not something that's out there. Happiness is not a fleeting, transient experience that comes and goes. Happiness really is overrated in a sense. The goal really shouldn't be happiness per se. It should just be more contentment. Just an ability to sit down and just be content. That's really happiness as far as I'm concerned. You know, and that's why I think meditation is so important. Speaking of which, I got my meditation headband charging in the background there. That's a whole other topic and video, but I mean, it's not going to make you happy. So retirement is a joke because to look forward to retirement is basically saying that you don't really enjoy your life right now. And I'm not condemning people. If you don't have a life that you love right now, I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just trying to put into perspective, sometimes we are fed cultural dreams and ambitions that are never as great as we think they are. I mean, and you know, Social Security ties into this. Social Security to me is criminal. It's evil, it's retarded, and it's going bankrupt. And if people say, oh, how dare you criticize Social Security? Go look at the worker to retiree ratio. When Social Security was first enacted, when it first began many decades ago, the number of workers per retiree was like 150, 200 workers per retiree. Now, it's like 2, or I think it's even less than 1. Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, and it's about to disintegrate. And so much of what we do nowadays is a fucking Ponzi scheme. And it's a Ponzi scheme that doesn't have to exist. It's like debt. Debt is a Ponzi scheme. You want to buy things you don't even have the money to pay for. So you lend, you borrow the money as credit. You go into debt, so you buy something you didn't need to have, you didn't really have to buy right now. So much of our consumption patterns are not necessary. And because we're so desperate to consume stuff, we buy things that we don't have to buy and we go into debt. And the same thing with Social Security. Oh, we all have to have a retirement, right? That was the mantra. No one should be allowed to reach the age of 60, 65 without having money to support them. Same thing with the housing market. Everybody should have a home. Everybody needs to have a big ass fucking house they can't afford. And look what happened. The housing market imploded and it fucked people over. And Social Security is going to implode too. It already has, basically. When you go from 150 something retirees per worker to like 2 retirees per worker. I think it's like 2. I think it's like 1 point something retiree per worker. And people say, oh no, but I saved up for my retirement. No, you do not save up for your retirement. That's not how Social Security works. Newsflash. Social Security doesn't work because as you work for the many decades of your life, the money that's taken from your paycheck is going to an account specifically for you. That money is not paying for your retirement. The money taken out of your check for Social Security goes to paying for current retirees. So while you're working today, you're not saving up Social Security for your own retirement in 50 years. You're paying. The money taken out of your paycheck is paying for current retirees. That's right. So that's why Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. Because if it ever turns out that there are more retirees than there are workers, the workers who are currently paying for the retired people will be overburdened. It'll be top heavy. And now it's ridiculously top heavy. Because now we only have like one worker paying for the retirement of a single retiree. 1 point something, I think it is. And it's gone from 150 workers per retiree to like 1 over the many decades. So you see the trajectory. It's imploding because it's a Ponzi scheme. So it's fucking criminal because why should I or anybody else have to pay money out of our paychecks every year for a system that is by its nature a fucking Ponzi scheme, and as we're witnessing right now is fucking imploding before our eyes? How about I save up for my own retirement? Why should money be taken out of my paycheck to pay for somebody else's fucking lifestyle? A lifestyle that, by the way, is pretty fucking pointless. Why should I have to pay for the retirement of some 65, 70-year-old dude who just sits down in his fucking living room all day and just sits on a rocking chair and eats and shits and watches TV all day? We are in a cultural trance, guys. And the average person in retirement is probably miserable. They don't even know why they're retired. They're just going to spend the next 30 years just like, I'm just here, because we're so afraid of dying. We're so afraid of dying that we just want to postpone death as long as we can. Which is why I think euthanasia should be legal. If you want to end your life, you don't want to live anymore, just end your life. I think it's in Switzerland. I forget the country. Where you can just go. You go to like this little home. You go inside. There's a little caretaker there, takes care of you. And you spend like a week or two. And you at any point in time, when you're ready to die, you drink a little glass of wine. It has like a little toxic chemical in there. And you die painlessly within like 30 minutes. You're dead. And then that's it. But people don't want to take the responsibility of their mortality in their own hands. People don't want to take the responsibility of mortality, they don't want to put it into their own hands by choosing when they die. That's such a heavy burden. That's such a spiritual burden. It requires such spiritual responsibility to take your mortality into your own hands that the average person doesn't even want to look at it. So they retire and they spend the next 3-4 decades just sitting on a fucking chair, watching TV and rotting away slowly until they finally spend the last 3 months of their lives dying of lung cancer or some shit. And even then they won't, even though they're terminal, they refuse to die. They refuse to die willingly. They're just going to let the illness take its course. So I think that's part of the evolution of humanity, because what's happened is that 150 years ago, you were dead by 50 years of age on average. I think the average life expectancy, in the West at least, was probably about 50 years of age. So you were dead before you even knew what retirement was. So you never had to deal with this idea of, I got 30 years to live and I don't know why, I don't even know what I'm going to do for the last 30 years, from the age of 60 to 90. And by the time you're 80, you can barely even fucking walk. We never had to deal with that. Humanity never had to deal with that in prior centuries. Because your average life expectancy was so short, you'd be dead before you even had to think about your mortality. Which in a way was a blessing. Having a short life expectancy was in a way a fucking blessing. Because you didn't have to deal with what we deal with now. Where the average life expectancy is so high, yet the last 30 years of your life, you're so old, crippled, and incapacitated that you're just spending the last 30 years of your life sick, old, in pain and miserable, and because you can't work for yourself, people have to take care of you. Hence the Social Security Ponzi scheme we have today, where it's a top-heavy system. We have more retirees practically, at this point practically, more retirees than we have workers. Not literally, but basically, it's basically that. When you go from 150 workers per retiree to 1 point something workers per retiree, that's a top-heavy system, and we're feeling the pressure. And we're all the younger generations are working to take care of old people who don't know why they're even alive. And no, I'm not advocating for death panels or anything like that. I'm advocating for a paradigm shift so that in the next 4 decades, we voluntarily change the way we live our lives so we don't have these top-heavy Ponzi schemes, Social Security scams burdening us financially. So yes, in a way, having a short life expectancy was a blessing because we didn't have to deal with the weight of the decision, the reality of our mortality. Mortality was something that would just happen to us inevitably before we even had time to think about it. You're dead by the age of 30, 40, 50. By age of 50, you're still alive, you're still up, you're still doing stuff. Nowadays, the decision, mortality is something we have to think about all day. Now, the average person won't think about it because it's easier to deny our mortality than it is to think about it. It's easier to just tune our brains out with mindless television in our retirement years than it is to actually think, wow, I'm going to be alive for the next 30 years. I'm going to spend the last 25 years old, stiff, and in pain, probably with multiple illnesses. I might very well be fucking miserable, but I'm so afraid of the concept of mortality that I'm just going to keep living. I think that it needs to be made legal. It needs to be a legal means to allow people to, when they want to, painlessly and easily end their lives. Because that's the age we're coming into. We are coming into the age where the burden of mortality is now ours to own. We can no longer just put mortality on the back burner and not think about the fact that we're going to die one day. Now mortality has to be our choice. Because it's going to get to the point now where our technology is going to be so advanced that we're going to be able to extend our lives for 200 years. Some people might want to live for 200 years. But medicine is going to advance so much, technology is going to advance so much, that we're basically going to be securing our mortality for 200 years. 200, 300 years? Do you think you can live for 200, 300 years without getting bored? Maybe you might get bored after a while. So what are you going to do then? These are heavy choices. This is the coming age of humanity. This is where we're going. These are heavy choices that we have to deal with. We have to deal with these heavy choices. Because when you can live to 300 years because the medicine and the technology has advanced so much, some people are going to get really bored after 100 years of living. And they're going to be like, what the fuck am I doing here? And maybe it's time to pull the plug. And that's a choice that you have to make and you have to come to. So, yes, retirement is a pie in the sky. The Social Security system is a Ponzi scheme that's become unsustainable. And why can't I save for my own retirement? Why does money have to be taken out of my paycheck to pay for somebody else's retirement? What if I am responsible enough to save for my own retirement? But see, the government doesn't think you're smart enough because you're just a dumb, retarded fucking consumer. You're just a dumbass consumer who, instead of saving the majority of his money during his working years, you spend it on a bunch of stupid, useless consumer bullshit. Your fucking stupid, overpriced sports car. Your fucking house with too many fucking rooms. All the dumb shit you waste your money on. Trips to fucking Disneyland. The literal fantasy land. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with spending your money on things. But I think there is a consumer culture where people are buying consumer goods and consumer experiences because they think it's going to bring them happiness. And some people are chasing every next thing, every next vacation, every next stupid technology gadget they buy. The only technology gadget I bought recently is this fucking meditation headband because it helps me meditate, because meditation helps detach me from the never-ending escape to the next stupid consumer product, the next dumb thing that makes me happy. I'll be doing a review on this meditation headband. It doesn't make meditation easier for you. It just makes it clearer. It's almost like having a personal trainer directing you on how to meditate properly. Because you can spend a lot of time meditating just doing guesswork. So I actually really like this headband. I'll do a review on it after I've been using it for 2 or 3 weeks. I'll put a link to it in the description below if you guys are interested. It's an affiliate link, obviously. I'll put a link in the description below if you guys are interested in the product. I'll be doing a review in it too. But the point is, so look, people are spending so much shit on things they don't need that retirement or this idea that they can't save for their own retirement becomes inevitable. Of course you can't save for your own fucking retirement if all you do is mindlessly spend money on shit you don't need. And maybe that's why Social Security was created. So people didn't have to worry about their own fucking retirement. And that's literally true. Because you don't save for your own retirement. You don't even save for your own retirement. Again, that's not how Social Security works. Social Security works by having younger generations pay for your retirement. Again, the money taken out of your paycheck is not saving up for when you retire. It's being taken out of your paycheck to pay for old people who are currently old and currently retired. So when you retire, you better goddamn hope there's a bunch of new, younger people working to support your ass when you retire. That's how the Social Security Ponzi scheme works. It's the exact opposite of retirement. Or rather, it's the exact opposite of putting retirement into your own hands. We thought Social Security was such a great idea because we didn't have to fucking think about retirement. We didn't have to think about retirement. Retirement didn't have to be in our hands. We just dumped it onto the younger people and had them pay for our old asses. And as a consequence, when you don't have to think about your own retirement, you don't have to think seriously about saving money. So you can just spend away, waste away on stupid, useless consumer trash you don't need instead of saving up conservatively and intelligently. Just waste your money away, spend it on shit you don't need, the American dream, so then you can retire, which is the ultimate aspect of the American dream, retirement, the big pie in the sky. But you didn't even save for your own retirement, you're just leeching off younger people. It's a disgusting insult. It's disgusting. It's borderline criminal, forcing people into such an unsustainable system that is now literally financially fucking imploding. So, it is what it is. We do the best we can with what we have. We don't whine, we don't complain, we just point out the objective empirical faults with the way things currently are, and we come up with productive solutions to move forward. It's crazy when you think about it. This whole system we're in, It's a self-perpetuating system of debt and self-destruction. A self-perpetuating system of debt and self-destruction. That's what Social Security is. That's what this consumer culture is. Because see, what's the opposite of fucking retiring? Or rather, what's the opposite of this retirement paradigm, this Social Security paradigm? See, Social Security enables shitty financial habits. Because when you don't have to think long-term about your own retirement, because you're just putting the burden of retirement on younger generations who work to pay for you, you don't have to be financially responsible and think long-term. And that, of course, enables a consumer culture. So corporations love the Social Security Ponzi scheme because it enables financial recklessness. And financial recklessness is tied right into fucking consumer culture. Buying a bunch of shit you don't need, chasing the never-ending, fleeting bullshit. It's funny how it's all tied in, isn't it? But it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the Social Security Ponzi scheme, which was derived from this pie in the sky government plan that we should all have a retirement, everybody's looking forward to retirement, everybody wants the retirement, and the government says everybody should have a retirement, this big pie in the sky everybody looks forward to, and thus, because people took retirement out of their own hands, the responsibility was off their shoulders, people became financially reckless and just became stupid, mindless consumers chasing every stupid little fad and trend consumer product? Or, if you want to take the conspiratorial sort of sinister look, was it a corporate plan by the frickin' economic industry machine? How do we get people to become mindless fucking consumers? Okay, take the burden of financial planning and responsibility off their shoulders through Social Security, and then they can go and they can recklessly spend a bunch of money on shit they don't need. I doubt that's what happened. But what I do think, what certainly did happen, is that the Social Security Ponzi scheme is undeniably tied in to this whole thing. It's undeniably a big factor. So, I don't know what else to say, guys. All I gotta say is there are alternative ways to live financially. There are alternative ways to live in terms of your everyday life, what you look forward to, where you get your happiness from. It's part of the reason I meditate. Because as I come to realize this kind of world we live in, I realize that, stupid vacations and buying a stupid car is not going to bring you lasting happiness. So as I begin to realize that none of these external fleeting transient things bring me happiness, I realize I better get good at being happy doing nothing. I better get good at being able to meditate in a dark, quiet room and be totally at bliss. Because if not, I'm going to lose my shit. I'm going to start I'm going to go on fucking Black Friday shopping sprees with all the other zombie hordes, crashing down the front doors of Best Buy to get the stupid consumer product they don't need. So as I realize the nature of happiness, as I realize the nature of this consumeristic culture, I realize that I better get good at meditating. Because basically what meditation does, at least the type of meditation that I'm doing, that I've been doing for about basically every day, twice a day for 20 minutes each time a day. So 40 minutes total every day. I've been doing it very consistently every day, by the way, very consistently for the past 2 months, because I realized that if I don't fucking meditate consistently, I'm going to realize that all these transient external things do not bring lasting happiness. And I'm going to get sucked into them or I have to find another way to be happy. So disciplining myself to be happy, doing nothing, sitting in a quiet room, meditating, that is preparing me for the future that we're coming into. Doesn't mean you can't have fun. Doesn't mean, I do MMA training. I love working out. I love eating healthy food. That's part of the reason I strive to be 100% vegan, because I want to be sustainable. And I don't want my moral compass, my ethic compass to stop, at arbitrary distinctions. I don't want to walk through life thinking that I'm a good person, yet I won't hesitate to fucking eat the carcass of an enslaved animal. I want to be thoroughly, I would like to live in a world where the average person, where everybody meditates 2 hours a day, where people are calm, ego-free, envy-free, enlightened people who watch their step to not step on a fucking little ant or a bug or something. I know that sounds extreme. Where people are just calm and enlightened and clear-minded in this lucid experience called life on Earth, in this solar system, in this galaxy, in this universe. Life is wild, man, and I think sometimes half the reason we're a bunch of mindless consumers is because we're trying to deny the fact, suppress the fact that, what the fuck am I doing here? What are we doing? We're a fucking planet circling through space. What the fuck? But in that, I think but when you restrict your experience of reality, you limit your joy. And when you truly immerse yourself into the totality of this existence of ours here in this supposedly infinitely vast universe, you open yourself up to all that's possible as a sentient being. So I don't want to limit myself. Anyways, I've gone on for over 30 minutes. And yeah, so let me know your thoughts on this. Sort of a rant. I just had to let it off my chest. And I think that's all I got to say. Thanks for watching.
Well, let me just, he wants to be a tough guy, and it doesn't work very well with
How tough is it to take property from an elderly woman?
Let me talk. Quiet.
How tough?
A lot of times.
Fight back against YouTube censorship by supporting me on Patreon. You'll also get access to exclusive, never-before-seen videos and other perks like monthly Google Hangouts with me, free books and t-shirts, and more.